Why people get burned out at work, and what can you do about it? The job demands resources. Model of burnout.
Have you ever felt exhausted from work, even though you liked your job? Or maybe despite all your hard work, you feel stuck, drained, or disconnected. You're not alone, and there's a science-backed way to understand what's going on. Almost 25 years ago, Evangelia Demerouti and her team came up with the now famous Job Demands Resources model, or JDR. The JDR model helps describe how people burn out, how they stay motivated, and what can be done to fix unhealthy work environments at any level of the organization. Whether you're an HR professional, a team lead, or simply someone trying to stay sane at work, knowing this model can help you understand the early signs of burnout, know what you need in order to thrive, and even start better conversations with your manager or team. The JDR model starts with a simple truth. Every job has demands and resources. Job demands are what takes your energy. Think tight deadlines, difficult customers, or a high workload. Job resources, on the other hand, are what give you energy, such as having feedback from your manager, being given autonomy, having supportive colleagues, or training opportunities. When demands are too high and people don't get a chance to recover, that leads to stress, which leads to exhaustion, and eventually to burnout. But when people have the right resources, even if that job is demanding, they're more likely to feel energized, focused, and motivated. So the JDR model maps out two major pathways. One is called the health impairment process. Too many demands lead to burnout, which leads to poor health and to lower performance. On the other hand, we have the motivational process. Having enough resources leads to higher engagement, which leads to greater well-being and productivity. So, what exactly is burnout? Well, first, a burnout individual is experiencing exhaustion, be it physical, mental, or emotional, because of being exposed to long-term stress. But just being exhausted doesn't mean that you're burned out, because burnout also comes with disengagement. You know, that feeling of distance from your work, like you're just going through the motions and you're not really motivated anymore. On the flip side, work engagement is a positive state. It means feeling energetic, having enthusiasm, and being absorbed in your work. The JDR model describes both and shows what can tip the scale in either direction. So let's make this practical. Imagine two people in the same role. They both have a high workload, but one of them gets regular feedback, has a supportive manager, and feels trusted to make decisions. The other one has unclear expectations, no support, and feels micromanaged. Even though the demands are similar, the second person is way more likely to burn out because they're missing the resources that make the work doable and meaningful. This is why the JDR model is so helpful. It reminds us that it's not just about working too hard. It's about a balance between demands and resources. Another important part of the model is that personal resources matter too. These are things like your confidence, your optimism, your resilience, or your self-efficacy. If you're low on personal resources, even moderate job demands can feel overwhelming. But if you feel capable and supported, you're better able to stay engaged, and you're more likely to help create a healthier team environment too. This creates something called the gain spiral, where having more resources leads to more engagement, which leads to even more resources over time. So what can you actually do with this information? Here are a few simple tips. Map out your own demands and resources. Ask yourself, what's draining my energy? What helps me stay motivated? Is there a balance? Talk about it with your manager or team. You don't have to say, I'm burned out. You can say, hey, I've noticed I've had a lot of pressure lately, and I'd like to talk about ways to make the workload more manageable or to add some support. Build your personal resources. That could mean taking breaks seriously, asking for help when you need it, learning a new skill, or setting better boundaries. And if you're a leader, use the model. Regularly check in on your team's demands and resources and empower them. Make sure people feel seen, supported, and capable, not just busy. With the right balance of demands and resources, work can actually be a source of energy, meaning, and growth. Thanks for watching, and tell me in the comments what you'd like to learn about next.